Well, here we are again, another episode of the Yet to Be Named podcast. And today I have my great friend joining me, Pamela New. Pamela, thank you so much for being here.
You are so welcome. Okay, I was thinking about this, practicing his presence.
What,
Now,
you're naming it already?
yes,
Okay,
prac-
okay. I wasn't prepared for that. So practicing his presence. Okay.
practicing his presence because that's what Standing Stone's all about. We
And should the H be capitalized in that?
what?
Practicing his, should the
Oh,
H be
yeah.
capitalized?
Yeah, no, it starts with a P, Lo.
I think
Practicing
you're missing it, Pam. You're
his
missing it.
presence. Oh,
Okay,
God.
well, I'll give you a chance after it because I do want you to kind of interact and know the essence of what we're doing here. But
Okay.
I appreciate coming in hot. I appreciate that.
Standing Stone podcast. Welcome.
Yeah, it's vanilla-ish, but still viable. We'll see what happens.
Okay.
So Pam, you and I have what I would consider a wonderful history together in the ministry, along with your hubby. And I think part of that is because of our geography. Like obviously we live in the same state and we've had some time to spend together. But I don't want to like put words in your mouth. I want to hear from you more of the track record within Standing Stone because I admittedly I don't know when you and Bob started, and I do know that it was I do know that it was long enough ago where there has been some twists and turns and plot twists. So why don't you start with telling us a little bit about how you got involved in Standing Stone? When did that happen? And then we'll start from there.
Well, hello, 7 years ago. It does feel like we've done this our whole lives. It has been such a turn of events in our lives, though. So, for the first 30 years of our marriage, we've been married 34 years, the Lord had Bob in Christian education and me in Christian broadcasting. I was in radio work. And when he invited us, capital H, he invited us to leave the ministry of Christian education, we had not one clue what the Lord was asking of us. And it's all we ever knew. And so, as you know, we tend to do what we know, even sometimes long after he's invited us to do it, just because we're comfortable. And so he yanked the rug completely out from under us and brought us to a moment of saying, why has ministry been so hard for us? And in this case, education. If you've done something for 30 years, why does it feel harder every day? And what we came to is, well, culture is a whole lot harder. And what we know the Lord to be asking of us is getting harder because he makes us more like him and he prepares us for the next step. Bottom line, we were alone.
Hmm.
It's that easy. We were alone and we were lonely in ministry. Had to be, because as my husband was heading schools, just like as a pastor is heading a church, you got to put up some walls of protection to
Right.
protect the people you're serving, to protect your family, to protect yourself. It's a life of confidentiality. So who do you call when your kids are really struggling? Who do you call when your marriage is hurting? No one was on our list. And so we started to seek out, Lord, what could you be asking of us? Don't even ask us how we got connected with Standing Stone. It was a 30-year-old relationship that connected us with a board member who told us about Standing Stone. And we just said, yes, yes, yes. Everything that Standing Stone is designed to do was right in our comfort zone. And everybody who loved us and knew we were seeking new steps was saying, just keep doing what you're doing. And
Interesting.
that's loving people in ministry. It's a big call.
Well, it's so interesting because you wouldn't equate academic leadership with necessarily church leadership, but yet they're the same parallels of being on an island and carrying a ton of responsibility. And since it's Christian education, there's spiritual weight as well. And you found yourselves where most of us and a lot of the people that we care for alone and not having what we would consider close friends. How has that changed as a result of being in Standing Stone for you?
How has
The loneliness and not having friends changed?
I was actually just thinking about this yesterday. When I look at my list of intimates right now, it's all the people that I'm loving. They enter back into me. I get texts from women I've been serving for 3 years in Standing Stone because they're praying for my children. They're walking through my ministry with me. It's allowed us to have the community that we always longed for. And lo, it's authentic now. We can't just play the church thing. We've all had church hurt, and the Lord is calling us all to love the church. So how do we do that authentically? We simply strip down and we live life with people. And so and we've entered into a whole community that we never had in ministry before.
Well, I've not thought about this since you brought it up, but I know that when I entered into Standing Stone, I developed these friendships, not deep friendships with every shepherd that I've met, but with many. There's a higher percentage of that connection rate with fellow shepherds than there ever has been in my other ministry expressions or even in my other personal lives. And I think it's because we all have common ground. I think it's all because we've got similar experiences and we don't have to explain our hurt and pain to
Yes.
one another because they're shared hurts and pains because of what the role has done and demanded of us. But I would say, and I don't know if you can agree, the struggle now isn't, oh, I don't have any friends. The struggle now is I don't know that I have as much time as I would like to spend with those friends.
Absolutely.
There's so many people I'm like, man, I would love to go spend time with so and so. Tell me a little bit about your New Year's Eve. Didn't you do something fun for New Year's Eve?
So, well, the backstory to New Year's Eve, lest everybody think our lives are just fun. Our kids kind of stink right now. They're all adults, and
Okay.
we didn't have any plans for New Year's Eve, and it was kind of a family ick time. And so we said, we're going to go play. We are going to go play with people we love. Who are those people? They are fellow shepherds who live in North Carolina. So we got in the car and we went and we played and we listened to old stupid rock and roll songs and sang together and enjoyed their kids and their grandkids. And all of a sudden they're home. We've traveled with other shepherds. My goodness, last fall, Bob and I got on a plane and went to Linton, England. And I can't say it with all the grace and beauty they do. Because we've got Standing Stone shepherds who are serving in England, and they have grown to be some of our very dearest friends. And it started this
Wow.
way. We have this whole Standing Stone prayer time every week. And Bob said, and I missed it. And Bob said, I really like those people. Do you think we could meet with them? Would it be goofy to reach out and see if we could be friends like
Right.
we were in third grade? And we have met regularly now for years. They have
Crazy.
visited us, we visit them, and I put that on the calendar. I'd love to visit them again. I don't know if we ever will have the opportunity, but they're our nearest and dearest. And 7 years ago, we didn't know these people existed.
Crazy. Yeah, I know. I think there's a thing that keeps resonating with me in my personal life and it leaks into every aspect is be the friend you want to have.
Oh gosh.
Be the sibling you want to have. Be the shepherd you want to have. All of those, it's like I need to create it. I need to be proactive. And I love that you guys took the proverbial bull by the horns and flew over the pond and met with them because that's how we end up modeling for the people that we care for to create those spaces. Like you've got to fight for those friendships because they're life breathing and life breathing friendships are hard to come by, especially at this age in my life. It's hard to find those guys that I can confide in. And in your case, the couples that you guys can enjoy spending time with. And I'm so glad that you found that.
Absolutely. And I think that part of understanding how Jesus is transforming us and why we enjoy people so much is understanding their environment. What is their culture like? How does he speak to them? And when we can share in those experiences, we get to enter into his unique voice in our lives in a further way as well. Can I walk you around my space a little bit?
Yeah,
If I move, is everybody going to get dizzy?
I don't think so.
So
This has
this
never happened before, but I think let's do it.
So me. If it's never happened, let's do it. So this is Bob's kind of office, but it's also my shepherding space. And it's really key to me to have this space that brings me joy right there. That's my happy place. You know that. I love my horses. I don't have any. So I go to a barn once a week and I just schlep because I love the smell of manure. But this little corner is where I meet with women. And it goes in line with what we're just talking about for this reason. Those are the fruits of the spirit right there. My dad was a printer, so my little printing box always is my heritage. The yoke, some of my kids and grandbabies, and those sticky notes. Those sticky notes are really key in what we're just talking about because just because we're serving other people doesn't mean we don't still need to be shepherded and loved as well. And adult kids are hard. And we have 3 adult kids and 5 perfect grandchildren, and they're hard. And so as Bob and I start walking through the hard, I started putting these, started with the name of one of my kids, but then all those sticky notes are fellow shepherds with adult children who
Oh,
are
wow.
hard. And so my prayer list is very focused and not the only ones on my prayer list, but I have a focused list that as I present my children, I present my fellow shepherds' children as well. Because we're still in service, we still need support, and God is still healing. We don't use the word healed very often. Bob and I don't. He says he began a good work in us and he
Yeah,
carries it on to completion. He, capital H. He carries it to completion to the day of Christ Jesus. And that day is not today. Oh,
that's
I
wild.
hope that day is today. But go
I'd
ahead.
be down. I'd be okay with a straight. Let's just do a hard stop around 2:30 this afternoon. Let's just go ahead and end this grand experience of humankind, and I would be happy to be in the presence of the Lord. But until then, to live as Christ. So here we are. I love how intentional you've always been, and even unconventional in, and maybe that's the education and unique backdrop that you've had in media and in radio broadcasting, because I, from my relationship with you guys, know that you have really, I wouldn't say reinvented, but you've evolved in your role within Standing Stone. As Standing Stone has shifted and morphed and evolved, you guys have been in unique spots and places in roles during that time. What would you, how would you describe your role within Standing Stone, and what do you love about the shepherding component that you get to do each day?
So, what I think is unique to Standing Stone in what we're able to do is that we have flexibility in what we're doing and availability with whom we do it. Standing Stone, unconventional, that's the word you used for me. That is a pretty good word for Pam and Bob because we like to hear the Lord's voice and act on it. And God created us, He did this DNA. So He's going to ask me to do it differently than Lone Norris, differently than Claire West in Linton, England. It's going to look like me. And so we have been trained as retreat shepherds with Standing Stone. Absolutely love that. The tools, the training, we're well equipped to lead people. But the Lord had given us this word reset right before He led us on this journey with Standing Stone. And we take it very seriously, even though we didn't have a clue what it meant. And over the last 7 years, He's made it abundantly clear. So we love bringing people into our home, into our space. And the reason we love that is because we know the presence of the Spirit in our place. And so if people walk through the door, they should smell the fragrance of Christ. If Pam and Bob don't ever open their mouths, the Holy Spirit is here. And so we are bringing people into reset is our term. It involves retreating, resting, but also incorporates listening to the voice of God uniquely, which, Lo, I think you'll probably attest to this. Even though we've been in ministry our whole lives, we don't listen to the voice of God very well. Some people have never even heard the voice of God. So we do a little teaching on what that voice sounds like, and then we give them a reset, kind of a launch for success from this day forward. And it is all based in the presence of God in our space. I was in a tough spot a couple days ago with a friend, and I just came to the Lord and said, "Man, you ask too much of me. You just ask too much of me sometimes, and it stinks, man. What you're asking me, loving people's hard." And He led me to Psalm 105, and I made a list of what He's asking of me. Big list. You ready?
Yeah, I'm
Right.
listening.
This on, give thanks, sing, glory. And that's a verb, by the way. I looked it up. To glory in God means to take pride in Him, to take pleasure. Look, seek, and remember. Listen to that list again. Give thanks, sing, glory, look, seek, and remember. In other words, when God has a big ask of us, He's saying, get out of my way. Just facilitate the work that I'm going to be doing. Keep your eyes on me and keep their eyes on me. I have a young woman. I just got off the phone with her, have been meeting with her for 2 years. And for a year and a half, we have been preparing to launch a church, she and her husband. Fabulous young woman. It's launching on March 22nd. We are on pins and needles. And you know what our job is right now, Lo? Get out of the way. All her ducks are in a row. Man, she is so organized. And I said, get ready, because the Lord's going to take that rug and just shake it. And it's going to look like Him.
Yeah.
So much fun to be in the work of the Lord.
Well, I love how you talk about the flexibility of Standing Stone and how you guys have done a really good job of taking our purpose as a ministry or our vision, if you will, guiding ministry leaders into healthy ministry. But then you've also incorporated your own unique gifting and your own unique design that God has given you. For those that are listening, I think it's really important, whether you've been with Standing Stone for 10 years or 10 minutes, is that he wants you to be you in this ministry, and he wants you to learn and grow, because I know that you guys are great devourers of information and learners, and not only from books and podcasts, but also from fellow shepherds. And all of that has gone into shape what you're talking about, and these little personal retreats that you're talking about, bringing them into your home. I've sat in your home. I've sat on your back porch. While you were talking, I was envisioning the large trees that border your back property and the lush sweeping lawn that you have back there, and it is therapeutic. It's a divine spot to be able to go and appreciate. And why not bring people into your home, especially to what an act of trust, what an offering of vulnerability, like, hey, we are welcoming you into our lives. And for us to have dangerous conversations, people need to know that we are safe and welcoming so that they can enter into it. And I just want to say that you and Bob have done a really great job of opening up your homes and your lives. I look forward to coming back up and spending some time with you guys here hopefully in the spring, my favorite time of the year. But I am curious, with that unique path that you guys have had, what was, if you don't mind sharing, a particularly challenging situation so that we can kind of learn how the Lord worked through you, how he got you out of the way? Can you think of a time where you were in a shepherding relationship that was particularly challenging or daunting?
Yes, there's a standout, and I'm already in my head saying, okay, what words do we choose here? There was an instance where, yes. Sometimes God uses all the stuff of our lives to bless other people and to minister to other people. This was one of those instances, though, that he took me way out of my comfort zone and any knowledge of or experience. And it was a young woman. She and her husband, Bob and I, had both been loving them. And one night she called me just as we were crawling into bed and was screaming hysterically and said, "My son is assaulting my other son as I speak." And that's not the word she used. And my blood went cold. That is so out of my experience. And yet, Bob and I got in the car, flew down to their home, met the police, the social workers, the DCS workers. I loaded her up in my car and we went to the hospital with a child who was victimized. And we walked through just literal hell with them for weeks. So a couple things that just was so sweet to me and is a real testament to the order of Standing Stone, because there is a system. There is a Standing Stone way. As we walked forward, that young woman was calling me every day, texting me several times a day, and he was doing the same with Bob. And at one point, she said to me, "My husband's starting to feel really uneasy in this because he never pays Bob. And we pay all the people involved here, the attorneys, the social workers. There are so many people on our paycheck right now. And he has free access to Bob and feels guilty because of it. It is so hard to use you guys when you work free." Lo, I got to say to her, we don't work for free. We have a whole team of people who love you so much, will never know your name and never know your circumstance.
Right.
Love you so much that they are giving me a paycheck. They are paying me to be available to you.
Hmm.
Second thing that really was a light bulb moment about Standing Stone. In that specific scenario, I got burnt out. And a few weeks out, I went to an event, and one of my beloved brothers at Standing Stone looked at me and said, "Wow, this is too heavy for you.
Wow.
I am putting you on sabbatical for 2 days." And he arranged a home for me to be completely silent for 2 days. I remember, Lo, walking into that house and thinking, "Oh, I can watch any movie I want. I can eat Cheetos for dinner." I walked in the door, went into my bedroom, and woke up 24 hours later. And then
Wild.
I sat on the front porch and just let Jesus fill me up.
Hmm.
That's a perfect scenario of how Standing Stone works. We work hard, we pour into people, and we're led through hard stuff, and we get to see God work in amazing ways.
Yeah.
But we're also holding each other accountable and loving each other well. Perfect, perfect scenario for God to do really healthy work.
Yeah, and what would you have done if you hadn't had that community to not just lean on, but to call you out? And not just call you out, but to provide a solution to what they perceived as being kind of the core problem of burnout. That is a heavy, heavy situation. And I'm curious, how long ago was that? And do you guys still communicate? Is it in a different rhythm? How does that work?
Yes, we do. We've very much become part of each other's lives.
Okay.
And that was about a year ago.
Okay.
And they've been up to our home several times. We've been to their home several times. Keep in mind, I got nothing when it comes to this scenario. So we have linked them to the people who can help them professionally.
Okay.
Great therapists. They have great physicians for the doctors. And part of our role has just been to be the conduit. Keep checking. How often you guys in therapy? How's your marriage holding still? Wow. Hate to say this, but remind you of this, but you're still in charge of a church. How's the church doing for you in this particular time? That's the challenge that all of us have, Lo, is that the Lord's called us to be in authority. We're not used to being under authority in that process, too. And by that, the word authority, we mean covering, protection. Are we under somebody's authority to make sure we're staying healthy and all doing what God's asked us to do in this process? They're doing great. Still hit waves of grief and trauma. And we are there. I meet with her every couple weeks. Bob meets with him probably once a month. We just share life. Now, that said, I'm always open to texting and I call it the 911. If you can't get a hold of me, text me a 911 and you know somebody's going to be calling you that day.
It's great. I know that you and I have had a chance to shepherd together. And it's a longer story to tell in detail, but I wanted to highlight for those that are watching how that dynamic can work when me as a single guy is working with a married pastor, but they're having marital issues and their wife needs somebody to meet with. And I can't even remember how long ago it was that I reached out to you and said, "Hey, I've got a wife that would benefit from meeting with a shepherd." And that's really sparked off a fun ministry partnership with you and I as we walked through. I don't want to tell the whole story, but from your perspective, that teamwork with somebody else within Standing Stone, what are the highlights of that relationship that you think might be of value for our fellow shepherds to hear and learn from?
I'm so glad you asked that, Lo, because we do, part of our role, yours and mine, is inviting people to serve with the ministry. And often it is a husband or a wife, and they're not joining the ministry together, or single individuals. And they say, how is this going to happen to show you? And I've given a couple examples with Bob and me. When we work with individuals and they've got another half, it's very rare that their concerns are happening in a vacuum. So Bob and I can enter into relationship with both those people. Now, you as a single man call me up and say, I've got a relationship with this guy. He's got another half and she needs some attention. Of course she does. I have loved that because when we've entered into that, you shepherd him, I shepherd her, it also comes with a freedom or lack of confidentiality. There's an agreement. She knows I'm talking to you. He knows you're talking to me. And so we get a balanced perspective.
Yeah. And that did not happen by chance because for our audience, Pam and I would have these dramatic, like, are they talking to you? Because something just went nuclear. And I'm like, I can't just be in silence, but I had to be very sensitive because of the confidentiality. So I would send you messages like, have you talked to so-and-so? Because I think that you probably need to. And we finally got to a place where we just had a summit. We're like, you know what? We cannot be operating in these silos And so we called this couple together, and I'll never forget you calling them out and basically saying, "Are you aware of what he just said? Are you aware of what she just said?" And you and I did. We created that permission of, in order for you guys to be the best versions of yourself, we would like to have the freedom to
Yes.
share from our meetings with you individually. And they were 100% agreeable with that.
And it really, I mean, that's such a sign of health, too. If you're willing to join perspectives, because every marriage, every working situation has two completely different perspectives.
For sure.
I can get off the phone with somebody and say, wow, he is absolutely crazy. And then I can talk to his wife and go, no, she's the crazy. Okay. Am I the crazy one? Probably. But when we can all sit in a room together and take notes and they can really hear each other.
Yeah,
I mean, we talk about it all the time at Standing Stone. We're paid to listen.
for sure.
And if we can facilitate couples listening to one another, staff members listening to one another, that's where God's going to do his work.
Totally. And in this scenario, which I think is probably pretty common, is allowing the other person to believe the best and not assume that the other person's out to get them. And
Yes.
that in this scenario, we're talking about two completely different personality types, two completely different woundings and trauma from earlier life. And so I just really appreciate that you and I have been able to, I mean, for me, it's been forging new ground. Like, how do I handle this? But in a lot of ways, I feel like sharing it for our fellow brothers and sisters in Standing Stone lets them know, like, hey, there are so many people within this organization that can help you in blind spots or in deficiencies, or like, I've never dealt with this. Like you said, you escalated and got them the right help. And that is such a freedom within Standing Stone to know that, one, there's probably help within the ranks
Yes.
that you can refer to, but also there's always the ability to say, you know what, can we just hit pause? I'm going to talk to some friends of mine and find out what would be a great next step for you. And then we come back and we provide pathways to progress and healthy resources that they may never have tapped into. And you've been one of those for me. And I appreciate that collaboration that we've had in not only that scenario, but many others.
Thank you, Lo. It's been so much fun. You know, Bob and I, for a season, served as area leaders for Standing Stone, and again, it's just the season that kind of forced us out of that. Now that we're doing more with people in our home, but part of what I loved about that is to see a whole region of people and their unique gifting. Some women are just so great at dealing with millennials. Some women are really great at the menopausal, postmenopausal, the tried and true conservative church. And we have such a good mix of people that when we would take them as leaders, we really surrender that to the Holy Spirit. Lord, are you asking me to shepherd this person? Or is Sarah better at this? Or is on better at this? We know you have a divine purpose in this. So it's just a tremendous resource. Lo, at one point, somebody in our region, God bless him, one of my very favorite people, a conservative in the box. We loved this couple. He said to us at a retreat, I gotta tell you, first time I met you in Bob, you scared me to death. I don't want to scare people, but I do want to introduce the wide variety of people that come to Standing Stone. We are all over the map. And one thing that never comes into discussion is denomination.
Never,
Have never worked
never.
for always worked with parachurch ministries, never where denomination didn't come into literally every conversation. It doesn't.
It's a beautiful thing. It's like we get to deconstruct the denominational silos and say, hey, can we just get back to the common denominators, which are carrying spiritual weight is hard and leading sheep is tough because they bite. And as that one book, they have a certain smell to them that is not always pleasant. But we get to enter into that, and it's a great privilege. I am curious, as we kind of wrap up, with the time that you've been in Standing Stone and the various roles and functions that you have been part of within Standing Stone, if you could go back to yourself when you first started in Standing Stone, if Pamela in 2026 can go back to brand new shepherd Pamela, what advice would you give yourself?
Wow, really good question. Be you. All of us are coming from a background of Christian ministry, and there is a formula within every ministry. Needs to be. There's a list of do's and don'ts, behaviors and guidelines, and those are critical. We have those at Standing Stone, but don't forget your own DNA. The Lord will use you to reach individuals that others have never been able to and that won't hear them because of hurts in the past. This is hard work, Lo. And I remember Kyle Circle, the chairman of the board, when we first joined Standing Stone, he used the word pursue. It's hard to pursue people. That means they run away. That means they're not used to being caught. And people who are in ministry always carry hurt, and they're used to people failing them. If Lo can be Lo and Pam can be Pam, I'm going to go with God's going to use us
For
as
sure.
we are to reach the people that he's designed for us to reach. To set aside protocol and denomination and all the churchy stuff is not easy for us. I wish I did it earlier.
That's great. I appreciate that. And the statement that you just made is as far as like your unique self is going to be potentially the one that finally reaches somebody or gets them to slow down long enough to be caught. Why wouldn't God orchestrate that? Why wouldn't, if he loves his bride and we're saying, Lord, send us in, why wouldn't he orchestrate crazy encounters for us to find just the right person? I think that the willingness for us to show up and be present and get in our car and drive down to a gnarly situation. And I can't imagine what that conversation was like with you and Bob on the drive down. Like, what are you going to do? I don't know. I got nothing. Like, we're just going to show up and see what happens. That is terrifying for some people, but it's also such a first century ministry model. Go. But what am I going to do? Go. But how am I going to talk? Go. I'll let you know what you need to know when it's time to know it. And I love that.
You know, it's funny in that scenario, Lo, I don't remember one word I did say. Like, I don't know. I don't even know. Believe it or not, maybe Pam had no words in the moment. If I did have words in the moment, they were straight from Jesus because I don't remember any of them. I had nothing of myself. Okay, I got to tell you one more really quick
Okay,
story.
last one.
A woman writes into Standing Stone and she shares the scenario that she needs support in. And she is from a mega church. Bougie. Like if I named the church, everybody would know it. And she's talking to me.
Uh,
And I'm aware that I always say, I can do this, Lord.
yeah.
I can be conventional. I can be. And yet she called Pam. So does Pam need to be? And so I'm talking to this woman and she's sharing with me some big stuff. And I'm going, okay, I can walk through this. Is she going to choose me?
All right.
I don't live in her world. And so we're talking about the ministry that Bob and I do in our home. And it gets me on a rabbit trail like I do every time I open my mouth. And I tell her about the room that I was sitting in where my dog peed on the floor so many times that I took a box cutter and cut the carpet out. You've probably seen that bedroom. Lo,
Mm-hmm.
you might have stayed in that
Mm-hmm.
bedroom. Sorry. Pee's gone now. Anyway, I tell her that I did that. And you know what she said to me?
Mm-mm.
I want to be in your house. And my response to her was, "Hon, you've been in it too long. That appeals to you because you're just sick of serving in the box that doesn't let you be you."
Yeah.
I'm not saying God doesn't call us to do that work. He does.
Right.
But she's got to breathe in some everyday Jesus in the midst of it. He gets in the nitty gritty. He takes the box cutter to the yucky stuff. And that's what she needs to do too.
That is awesome. Well, Pam, I don't know that there's a better way to end the formal time because of how profound that was, but also how incomplete, which is oftentimes what we are asked to do is be in the middle of a situation, but being okay with it not being resolved in our timeline. And so I appreciate your spontaneity in this conversation. And obviously, like I said before, our friendship. I appreciate you being willing to come and tell part of your story for our fellow shepherds, which I'm sure that many of them are going to glean exactly what the Lord wants them to glean from it. So thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much. You know, I always love being with you, Lo.
Before we leave, I got any other names? Any other names for the podcast?
No, but I'm good with names. So I'm gonna text you some. I am gonna. You didn't
Yeah,
like?
go ahead and text me something. One that just came up was the box cutter.
Really?
Maybe. Maybe. I mean, I like to be inspired by the stuff that you guys are saying, and I'm going to put that one in the mix and see if anyone else relates to it because all of us are trying to escape the ministry box that we've been put into. Sometimes it takes a little bit of help and finding our way through. So I appreciate you being part of the help today.
Thank you, Lo.
Take care.